Hey everyone, it's Sunflower Spirit here, and I'm here to do another reading. Today I'm going to do a collective reading on the new moon in Gemini, which will be the 17th or 18th, depending on where you are at in the world. And so this new moon is really powerful um, because Gemini is the sign of kind of like shape shifting. Geminis sometimes get a bad rep for being like wishy-washy, but really what they are is they're really able to kind of like sit with those dual forces. They're willing to look at like both sides of an issue. And so what we're really being called to do with this new moon is to get a different perspective, to try to see the issue, the problem, whatever it is, the situation, whatever we're going through in a new perspective, in a different perspective. And maybe a perspective that might actually serve us better for what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So I wanted to pull some tea leaf first, and then we'll get into the tarot. But let's see, for the collective, what is this new moon in Gemini? Also, Gemini is like about communication and really getting clear on maybe your thoughts about where you're going, your thoughts with the situation, but also with communicating. Like self-advocacy plays a large role in communication, having boundaries. So kind of, depending on what your situation is. But let's see what's going on for the collective. And I'll pull some of these tea leaf tarot, see what's going on for the collective. So we have needle and thread, a sincere wish will be granted. That's a really good one to have right out the gate. We have frying pan, trouble, accusations. Interesting. So there's that duality, kind of. We're seeing a little bit of duality. So something that you're wishing for, something I feel like you've been working on for a while, that you've been really trying to get clear on, but it's not coming without maybe a little bit of trouble also. Mountain road. You are on the road to success. Yeah, so it's kind of like overcoming obstacles a little bit with this. Let's see what else we have. Whoa, that was a lot. Okay, so we have dog barking, advice from a friend. We have tent, temporary situation. We have, oh, there was a lot here. We have ink pot, problems to be resolved. Yeah, so I feel like there's something going on where there's like an issue that's kind of going to get resolved, or you're going to have some insight. Lion, time to act. And then we have bear, danger, especially in money matters. Okay. So, yeah, so what this is telling me is that, like, you're not quite, to the top of this mountain yet. Like, there's still going to be obstacles. There's still kind of like a road to pave. And I think this had come out in another reading, I feel like, recently. But it's not coming without issues, right? So there's still things that need to be addressed, but that's kind of why like taking a different perspective could help you. It's a temporary situation. A new moon it's a new beginning, it's a start of something, and it's also trying to figure out like where you're at with that, trying to kind of like use that discernment. So they're saying that your friends can help you. They're saying something about loyalty with friends here. Also, with the bear, I'm really getting, it says danger, especially in money matters. I feel like that's just a caution, but really, like, bears are really about um, investment, right? Like, a bear will, um, eat all summer long so that it can have that, you know, nutritional investment so that it can hibernate in the winter. So I feel like there's something where you have to look at the bigger picture, like the longer term outcome of it. That's kind of what I'm getting here too. And that things are temporary. You do need to act. There's something you need to act on, but you need to act in sincerity. You need to have vulnerability with this act. You need to kind of like persevere with whatever this action is. They're saying that eventually there's going to be some resolution to this, but it's not going to come without the issues, without the obstacle, without the trouble. So That's kind of what I'm getting there. I'll just put those here and then we'll do some tarot. I'm going to use my Luna Soul Tarot since it's kind of like a dual tarot deck, and Gemini is kind of like looking at those opposing forces or dual forces. So let's see what else we have for the collective for this new moon in Gemini. What does everyone need to know? And I have shuffled all these cards beforehand too. What does everyone need to know for this new moon in Gemini? We have the Hermit. So kind of like a healing process. I feel like there's something that you're kind of like looking internally at. I feel like things might have been a little bit slower. You still have like something that you're processing that you're trying to like bring out to, you know, the world around you. Something internal is going on where you're trying to figure something out. You're trying to solve something. Um, Seven of Discs. Yeah, again with the timing. This has taken a really long time. I feel like, you know, this is always my like plant your seed card and then wait for the results. And so have you been nurturing whatever it is that, you know, you're trying to draw from within yourself? Have you been nurturing this? Have you been giving it the proper nutrients, the proper sunlight, the proper, you know, amount of water? So you're kind of like have made an investment in a way. I feel like you've made an investment with something that has to do with your healing process. And this is also going to be Mercury energy. Uh, it's a Virgo card, but Mercury is Gemini energy. So let's see what else we have. Queen of Wands. Yeah, this is about you taking hold of your power, you having like agency, authority, autonomy over your power, you not giving your power away, you being open to the possibilities, being curious even with not knowing the outcome, having that courage, you know, to kind of like still be curious even not knowing the outcome. Queen of Cups. Yeah, really internalizing these emotions, internalizing your energy, trying to figure out like what your energy can offer you. I feel like because this is a slower process, you have had a lot of time to introspect, to kind of really go within and figure out what it is that you want. And so now you're kind of taking a look at that internalization of your energy, your emotions, how you can best serve yourself. How can you be kind to yourself? The Fool. Needing to take a risk with it, needing to have this courage, like take a risk. You're not going to get enlightenment until you take a risk. And this is just kind of like basic for everything we do in life, right? We're always taking risks. We're always making decisions that lead to other decisions. And so, you know, if we hold ourselves back with fear, we're never going to make those decisions. So it's kind of like taking an impulsive decision, recognizing that you've kind of been on this journey for a while. And if you want things to change, you are going to have to invest some type of risk into this. This is like an offering of a new beginning. This is like, you know, you can have this new beginning, but you do need to kind of like overcome some of this stuff. We have Death. So yeah, again, a healing process. There's something you need to release, something that's not serving you, need to release so that you can move forward with the process, so that you can gain clarity. Um, Sometimes like this card is kind of like my ego death card, where it's like, you know, when you go through these processes of awakening, enlightening, ascension, whatever you want to call it, expanding your awareness, whatever you want to call it, you do have to kind of like shed the old, which is kind of like essentially the death process. You know, we shed the old so that we can make way for the new. Let's see, what else do we have for everyone for this new moon in Gemini? Seven of Swords. Yeah, kind of struggling in your mind, struggling in your thoughts. Are you being honest with yourself? Are you actually giving to yourself? Because you're not going to heal if you're kind of like in denial. If you're withholding from yourself, if you're in denial, if you're overthinking, if you're kind of like in that paralysis analysis, that's not going to serve your best highest good. That's not going to serve you as far as you know, your emotional state or your energetic state in general. We have Three of Cups. This is again, let your friends help you. We got that card here. Or dog barking, advice from a friend, but I'm seeing that, let your friends help you. Um, so kind of like relying on other people, recognizing that like the risks that you take in life are worth it for the connections that you make. And I'm so sorry, I always end up rhyming in these, and I know that's gotta be like so incredibly annoying, but hopefully it's at least amusing. We also have Judgment. Yeah. So this is like the enlightenment. This is like the decision. Making a decision based on the past. What is it that you want to do? And look how many majors we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 majors. Ooh, and then we have duality on the back of the deck, which is a extra card in this deck. And duality is really looking at these opposing forces, which is what Gemini is doing, what Gemini calls you to do, is to kind of like look at things in a different way, get a different perspective. You could see them, but not only that, but Gemini calls you to not only look at like the dualistic parts, like the shadow and the light parts, or the good and the bad, or the dark and the light. It also calls you to kind of like hold space for that in between, because there's always, the place where healing happens, the place where growth happens, the place where moving forward and moving on from things happens is in that space between the oppositions, between the opposing forces. And so this is what we're kind of being called to do. We're kind of being called to like, there's stuff that needs to be healed. There's stuff that we've been working on individually, like as a collective, that is a healing process. This is a healing process, but we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to really have that courage to really look at the things that haven't been working, to really look at the dualistic sides and ask ourselves, is this the way that we want to go? And so that's one thing that I really appreciate about like the Gemini sign, or people who have that sign in their chart. They're usually very good at like, looking at things diplomatically, looking at things on both sides so that they can like sit in that in between space. And that's where that, quote unquote shape shifting comes into play. When you're able to sit in that space, you could be whatever you want. You could have whatever you want. Like the possibilities are endless. And it's just really uncomfortable to sit between the dual opposing forces. That's like one of the most uncomfortable places to be. And but it's a really good skill to learn, because if you can learn that, it just makes all these things easier. It makes decisions easier. It makes life in general easier. It makes your, communication easier with other people, because you're not so stuck, in your ways. And Gemini can have a tendency to get stuck. That's kind of like one of the darker attributes of Gemini is, getting stuck with these thoughts, having analysis paralysis kind of. So it's kind of like, you're at this place where you're ready to, take this risk. You're ready to release something, which is a huge risk. It's getting out of your comfort zone. You want to take back your energy. You're trying to empower yourself with this decision. There's a decision here where you need to empower yourself, based on, the work that you've done, the investment that you've already put into this. You've already put a lot into this, and you've already like thought a lot about this and really contemplated a lot on this. And so you're trying to figure out how you could be ethical to yourself, how you could be fair to yourself with this risk. So let's go ahead and we'll clarify some of these cards and see if we get anything else that comes out. So tell me about this Hermit card, please. The Knight of Cups. Yeah, it's kind of like, who do you want to be? And your communication is going to reflect that. And I think that's why you've been like internalizing this so much, is because you know that like the person that you are, or the person that people perceive you as, is going to be dependent on the behavior that you exhibit. And so you're wanting to make sure that you're coming at it with like messages of love. You're also wondering how you could get kind of like the relationships, the connection, that emotional connection that you kind of crave. And so you're really like thinking a lot about like, what does this take? How do I liberate myself here? How do I get the things that I want and have the emotional fulfillment that I want. What is this 7 of discs, please? We have the Ace of Pentacles. Yeah, so you've planted this seed and there's still, you've made this investment. I feel like there's another opportunity for planting another seed. So what I'm seeing with this is like with the 7 of discs to the Ace of discs or Ace of Pentacles, it's like you've planted something that essentially has the ability to grow something else. And so the work that you've done, you might be kind of like coming to a close in that process, but they're saying, hey, there's a gift in this. Like, you went through all this, here's another seed that you can plant. That's so beautiful. What's this Queen of Wands energy, please? We have the Empress. Yeah, you're understanding your power, understanding your ability to love yourself and your ability to create something out of nothing. We have the 7 of Wands. So it's not over yet. Like, there's still obstacles. There's still a lot to overcome. And just kind of like keeping that perseverance, keeping that momentum going for, really harnessing your own energy, really being the master of your own energy right now. What's this Queen of Cups, please? We have the Queen of Swords came out. So balancing your head and your heart, using your, what is it, how can you be true to yourself? How can you use discernment? We have the 10 of Swords. So I feel like there's been pain in the past. And so now you really need to kind of rely on that wisdom from the past. Okay, things were painful. What wasn't working? And that's why we have the Hermit here. There's something that wasn't working. You want this Knight of Cups energy. You don't want this 10 of Swords energy. Nobody wants the 10 of Swords energy. 10 of Swords is like depression, despair. So it's kind of like, where can you have those boundaries? Where can you have that communication with others where you're getting your needs met instead of having this 10 of Swords pain? It's like almost like the Queen of Cups is someone who can fall into that trap of giving herself to the point of like martyrdom, where she will give and give. It's like that approval seeking energy. It's that codependent energy. Like, I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to, like, I think I talked about in a reading last week, the Queen of Cups can be somebody who, instead of throwing someone a life preserver who's drowning, she'll jump in the water and drown with that person. Well, that's not really going to help anybody, is it? It's actually creating more issue than what already was the issue. That's why there's pain here. That's why it's depression. Because somebody's recognizing with this Queen of Swords, they're like, hey, wait a minute, like, this isn't working for me. Giving all my energy away, giving all my power away with this Queen of Wands here, that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help me or anyone else. And so kind of trying to learn that discernment, learn where your boundaries are. How much of yourself can you give with this Queen of Swords? How much of yourself are you willing, like, when do you cut it off? When do you say, no, you know what, I don't feel good, I'm too tired right now, but we can talk about this tomorrow, or something like that. What's this Fool energy, please? The Knight of Cups. Yeah, so like you need to take a risk to get what you want. Like, it's kind of like that return on investment thing. When you invest, you have to take a risk. You always have to take a risk. Whatever it is that you're investing, I don't care if it's money, energy, it could be anything. It could literally be anything. You have to invest something to get something back. You have to put something into it to get it back. And so they're saying, like, you really got to take a risk here, and this is going to serve you well because you're going to have this Knight of Cups versus this 10 of Swords. What's this Death energy? We have the the King of Wands. So yeah, something to release, because when you release something, there's something here you need to release that's like going to kind of like give your power back to yourself. You're going to kind of like reclaim that power by releasing something that isn't working. By letting something go, by letting something quote unquote die. You're going to really like create this transformational energy where you have the power to be exactly who you are, exactly who you're meant to be. That's beautiful. What's this 7 of Swords energy, please? The Knight of Swords. Yeah, analysis paralysis. There's something, though, you got to get out of your head, and that's one of the things. Remember I said Gemini energy. That is the shadow side of Gemini energy. Because they look at both sides, because they look at this duality, they really pick it apart, they fall subject to this anxiety. They fall subject to this Seven of Swords, denying to themselves, lying to themselves, going around and around with information instead of, having a good strong foundation of like, okay, hey, where are my values? Like it's kind of like knowing yourself. So needing to kind of like know yourself. What's this Three of Cups energy? Judgment. So this sort of like, relying on friendships, wanting to have these good connections with other people, it makes you look at yourself. And judgment is looking at yourself. It's assessing yourself. It's like, okay, so here's the facts. Here's what I did in the past. Here is the outcome. Do I want to continue that outcome again? And if you don't, if it wasn't working, which it doesn't look like it is because we have the Ten of Swords here, I don't think that's working for anybody. You don't want to feel depression, pain, and despair. I mean, I imagine you don't. I guess I shouldn't assume things like that, but I'm assuming you don't want to because I don't. And so judgment is kind of making it's like, hey, look, this is serious. Like, are you going to change? Do you really want this? How bad do you want this? Queen of Swords, how bad do you want this? What are your deal breakers? What is this judgment card here for, please? Six of Swords. Yeah, you have to choose to move on from something. This is kind of like the Death card. This is like reclaiming your power again. You're choosing to move on from something so that something can have a different outcome. So that something can have an outcome that, serves you better. We have the Three of Swords on the back. Oh man. Yeah. So they're saying like what you really need to focus on right now is there's something that you need to kind of put a different perspective to. There's things that are coming to you that are really good, but they're saying it depends on how much perseverance, how bad you want it, how much you're willing to take a risk for this. Be courageous, take that risk. What are you willing to give for this? How much are you willing to fight? Because if you're not, you're going to be in this analysis paralysis. You're going to be like in denial of yourself. You're going to be holding yourself back essentially because you're not going to be able to create that transformation. With the Death card, you do have to release something that wasn't working. So it could be painful. This is like harsh truth. This is like harsh reality. This is like pain, shame, anger. You're recognizing on some level that something has not really worked out the way for you that you'd like it to. And so it's really like that internalization. They're saying this can be temporary, but it's only temporary if you look at it, if you give it a chance, give it an opportunity with the Fool here for a new perspective, for risking a new perspective. There's clarity with the Sun, with the Fool here. So that is like, wow, powerful. This is a really powerful new moon. I wanted to take a chakra card and we'll see if there's any like other blockages or possible chakra blockages that come out. I see there's a potential. I don't see a full-on blockage, but there is a potential for like a solar plexus blockage here. And that's simply because what you're learning about is your power, the power that you have, that you've been giving away. Do you want to give that away anymore? And so the solar plexus chakra is kind of like, it's kind of like the clarity of like knowing yourself, of having that self-efficacy, that self-confidence within yourself, relating yourself to the rest of the world with that. So let's see what comes out here, if anything. What messages do we have? We have passion, sacral chakra. So this is about your motivation, your desire. Again, your personal power. This is, sacral chakra is about personal power. It's about that creativity, that motivation, that desire, that passion. So really like taking a look at like, how can you fuel this energy? And what I think is really interesting is because generally energy in tarot is recognized by the wands, and we have the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands here, and wands represent fire also. And what's really interesting is Gemini is an air sign, and air, actually is something that you use when you create a fire. You cannot create fire without air, without that oxygen, It needs oxygen for the flames to grow. So I think that's really interesting right now that so what I'm seeing is with this Gemini new moon, you are having the opportunity to kind of fan those flames. And what the flames are essentially your personal power, your personal empowerment, your ability to um, harness and control the energy to I don't know if control's the right word, but really have a handle on your own energy. We have wisdom on the back, which is heart chakra. And this is about also using your heart because you know the lovers card is the Gemini card in the tarot, and the lovers is a decision based on your heart. So Gemini's calling us right now, not get stuck in our heads, to look at all sides of the issue, but also don't forget to make that heart decision too. Don't forget that, because we had the Queen of Cups with the Queen of Swords here. So if you make all head decisions, you're going to end up in this 10 of Swords, 9 of Swords, 7 of Swords energy. But if you can make a decision with your heart and balance out your head and your heart, that's what they call wisdom. And so you're going to make a decision that will be emotionally fulfilling with this 9 of Cups here, and also a decision that will, release you from whatever you need to be released from. You'll put something to rest that needs to be, its cycle has completed. So this is very beautiful. I love this for you guys. I hope it's helpful. I hope it resonates. I hope you guys have a great new moon, and I appreciate you guys for stopping by today.